Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk live and direct on a Monday. We are back from the 3-day weekend with 3 hours of sports talk coming your way this afternoon on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. However you are joining us for this Monday afternoon edition of 580 Sports Talk, we so appreciate you being part of the audience. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you lived up to my ask of you when we wrapped up the show on Thursday before the 3-day 4th of July weekend. I hope that when you look down at your hands on this Monday afternoon, you have precisely as many fingers as you did before the festivities of the weekend. If you had 10, I hope you came back with 10, not 9.5. You didn't Jason Pierre-Paul yourself. You were safe. You celebrated and blew things up as responsibly as it's possible to do a thing like blow things up, and you're back with all your fingers intact. I really hope that's the case for each and every one of you, and that you had an outstanding weekend. My name is Dan Lucero. I am solo for a bit. Brendan Dworzinski is going to join me a little later on. Spencer Dupuis remains on vacation. And about halfway through the show today, I'm passing the baton to Brendan because I got to hit the road for talking season. Big 12 Media Days are tomorrow and Wednesday in Frisco, Texas at the Star. And I've got to get on down to the Lone Star State. So following What Is Wrong With You today, Brendan will take you the rest of the way. So it's split responsibilities, a split cast, I suppose, on the show today. If we may continue the tortured Cheers analogy that we have been making about the revolving door of the show cast in the last year and change, Sam Malone is leaving the bar to Woody for a little while, for a couple of days. I'm still going to be around. You're still going to hear plenty from me from Big 12 Media Days. But as far as being behind the table, that's going to be our Woody, and not our Sam Malone. I'm Sam. I get to be Sam. Brendan is Woody. He'll tend bar while I am off in Frisco, starting again this afternoon and over the course of the next 2 days. We are going to have so much content for you from Big 12 Media Days. Tuesday and Wednesday, obviously. Tuesday is K-State's day. Wednesday is KU's day. But then throughout the rest of the week, and maybe even into next week, who knows? The only limit is my time and my imagination. We'll get as many interviews recorded as we possibly can, and we will bring you so much good stuff from Big 12 Media Days to get you excited for the start of the 2025 college football season, which is now a month and change away, a month and 16 days before KU and K-State kick off their regular seasons. K-State, of course, in Ireland against Iowa State in a Big 12 game, and KU reopening the new and improved booth against Fresno State on that Saturday. So lots of that coming up throughout the week on the show. Today's show, we'll talk some baseball because the Royals had a winning road trip. And I think that would have been something you would not have expected given their run of form going into the week that was last week for the Royals, heading out to play 4 against Seattle, 3 against Arizona in their dangerous lineup. But the Royals came out of it closer to 500 than they were when they left. That's the good news. There was a lot to like over the weekend. An offensive explosion on Friday. Michael Lorenzen, awesome yesterday. And the Royals get a series win over Arizona after splitting 4 with Seattle. That is a winning road trip, 4-3. That's the good news. There are a couple of pieces of bad news. Number one, they are, in fact, not only no closer to a playoff spot than they were when they got on a plane to the Pacific Northwest, they are actually further out of a playoff spot. The reason they're further out of a playoff spot is because Seattle got to bludgeon the Pittsburgh Pirates at home over the weekend. Hey, who do the Royals play starting tonight for a 3-game series at Kauffman Stadium? Those same putrid Pirates. So I'm just saying there's a chance, but the Royals got to make the most of it. We'll preview the series. We'll preview game 1 tonight of that series at Kauffman Stadium. Noah Cameron's on the hill for the Royals as they open up that series against the Pirates. First pitch, 6:40, pregame coverage, 6 o'clock. And you'll hear it as soon as we're done here on 580 Sports Talk, here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So plenty of baseball to get to, including one stat about the Royals offense that kind of blew my mind a little bit. We'll get to that here in just a second. Also, plenty of football today. The Big 12 did not ask for my opinion or any other media member's opinion on how the conference will finish this coming season. But just because they didn't ask for my opinion doesn't mean I don't have one. And I am going to share it with you later on the program today. I have come up with my preseason Big 12 one-man media poll. How do I think the Big 12 is going to finish? Where are K-State and KU going to end up? Who are the real contenders, and how long is that list of teams that can realistically win the Big 12 conference? And, yeah, who are going to be the dregs? We're going to talk about it all. I'll cover it from 16 all the way up to who I think will be playing in Arlington for the Big 12 championship in December. That is coming up later on the show. Also, we'll continue our countdown to Chiefs kickoff. It is 60 days, 2 months, 60 days away from kickoff for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers in Brazil for week 1 of the NFL season. And number 60 on the Chiefs is a backup lineman we've actually kind of talked about a lot the last week and change on the show, Hunter Nourzad. Brendan's going to take you through why Nourzad and the rest of the 2024 draft class for the Chiefs is so important to the future of the Chiefs. Interested to hear what Brendan tells you there. I'll be listening on my drive again to down to Frisco and the Dallas area. All that plus everything else you've come to know and love from a Monday edition of the program. We'll have our 580 Sports Talk headlines, bunch of those from the long weekend. We will bring you what is wrong with you, start a new week there. Good, bad, ugly from the weekend that was is coming up in a little bit as well. And I want to hear from you as we go along on this Monday edition of the show. You can text the program. 785-272-9429 is the text line. That's 785-272-9429. You can also jump in the chat. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, go check out the YouTube. If you've never done it before, if you've never watched the show on YouTube, you're sitting at work, but you listen the old school way, you got a radio next to you, or you've got 580WIBW.com open. If that works for you, I love that. But check out the YouTube every now and again, because not only do you get to watch us make the radio show, you also, in the chat, get to interact with your fellow listeners. So go on over to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already, and jump on in that chat and interact with the 580 Sports Talk community and, of course, your hosts throughout the show. I see Mark H. already in today. Mark, glad to see all your fingers and toes are still intact from the 4th of July weekend. Paul K., same to you. Welcome in. Christopher's in as well with some great baseball factoids, as always. Appreciate you. Look forward to seeing more of you in the chat as we go along on this Monday show here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, let's get into it. Off a Royals win. It feels like it's been a while since we've had the occasion to have a happy Royals Monday. I don't know if that's the case. The Royals came off a winning road trip a couple of weeks ago when they went through Texas and San Diego, but they lost both games over the weekend when they had a chance to have a great road trip. They fumbled both the games on the weekend. Bullpen hacked it away on Sunday, and they ended up losing 2 out of 3 in that series. This road trip ended on a high note and was a high note. I say it all the time. If you can find a way to be 500 or better on a road trip, you had an excellent road trip. And the Royals just had an excellent road trip. They went 4-3 through Seattle and Arizona, 2 teams, varying degrees of dangerous. The Diamondbacks are in a funk right now. They're playing their way out of the race in the National League. They've lost 8 of their last 11 to get under 500. Their offense is taking a hit. Corbin Carroll's playing with a fracture in one of his hands and just not the dangerous offensive player that he typically is. And you could tell that kind of short circuits the top of their batting order. Obviously, they lost Corbin Burns for the season to Tommy John. That's a team heading in the wrong direction, but it's another thing I say all the time. You got to keep struggling, teams struggling. And the Royals went to Phoenix after a win late night on Thursday a more dramatic than it needed to be 3-2 win over Seattle to salvage the split in that series. And then won big on Friday, lost big on Saturday, but rebounded yesterday to win 4-0 and take the series, a combined shutout. Michael Lorenzen the first 7 innings, Lucas Erceg and Carlos Estevez took care of the rest. My goodness, that was the best I've ever seen Michael Lorenzen, certainly in a Royals uniform. 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, in total control of that game. The sinker was moving and humming in there at 95, 96. He had a really good changeup. I had forgotten before they put the graphic up on FanDuel Sports Kansas City during yesterday's broadcast of the game how good Lorenzen was against left-handers last year. He had the best batting average against left-handers in baseball last year. Lefties only hit 150 against him last year. This year, lefties are seeing him a little better, and they're hitting him pretty good, and teams have gotten back to loading up their lineup with left-handed batters against Lorenzen, but he dominated the lefties in the Arizona lineup yesterday. The only one of them to get a hit off of him was Geraldo Perdomo, and he's a switch hitter, and it was a kind of a jam shot over the shortstop into left field. So not even really a hard hit ball. Total control of that game for Michael Lorenzen, and in a spot where the Royals had to have it, because we're having a very different conversation about that road trip if they come back 3-4 than if they come back 4-3. And after the disappointment of Saturday, to turn around and see your number 5 starter do that to an excellent Arizona lineup. Make no mistake, Arizona, like I said, they're in a funk. Their pitching has betrayed them all season long. Their bullpen stinks, but they can mash. Like, they've got real threats in their lineup up and down. Carroll, even if he's playing hurt. Marte, Perdomo's a tough out. Eugenio Suarez can jump the yard on you at any time. That is not a day at the beach for any starting pitcher. And Michael Lorenzen was in a beach chair. That's how easy and breezy that outing was for him. Total dominance for Michael Lorenzen. Loved to see that. And it had to be a series win for the Royals, and it was. They bought the bats out big on Friday, had their own fireworks show. Vinny Pasquantino presiding, couple of home runs. Mark Canha, it's a funny thing. I had the game on TV on Friday. Canha was at the plate, and I had the thought to myself, I don't remember the last time I saw Mark Canha hit a ball hard. And then he homered. So I guess he was due. But Mark Canha hits his first home run as a Royal. Only took him till July. And the Royals cruised on Friday. And then that same lineup was just nowhere to be found on Saturday. They got totally dominated by Ryan Nelson and lost that game 7-1. And that is, unfortunately, the thing I want to talk about, because, look, there is a lot to like about how the Royals performed on that road trip. They scored 4 or more runs 4 times in that 7-game stretch. And that's not a thing that they've done particularly often in a week's worth of games, is score 4 or more runs even 4 times. Again, it's been a rough year for the Sticks. But I want to go back. I have to go back to Friday and Saturday. And I go back to that because I had the thought as I was watching Ryan Nelson just dominate the Royals on Saturday. I believe he was perfect, at least had a no-hitter into the 6th. And he's just in total cruise control. And Ryan Nelson's a pretty good pitcher. He's nobody's idea of an ace, but he's a solid guy. And he's been one of Arizona's best in recent weeks. But it was so frustrating watching that offensive performance in the context of what it had been the night before when the Royals jumped on Eduardo Rodriguez early. In fact, it was the worst outing of Rodriguez's career in terms of hits allowed and runs allowed. They scored 3 in the first on the Pasquantino home run, 3 in the second, although hilariously still without an extra base hit with the bases loaded this year. Still don't have one. It's July 7th. They still don't have an extra base hit with runners in scoring position. Goodness knows they had opportunities in that second inning to really blow the game open, but they scored 3 in the second. And then they get more later. They tack on and they score 9, which is one of their best offensive performances of the season. They've only scored in double figures 4 times this season after all. So it's tied for the 5th most runs in a game this season by the Royals. And then it was like a completely different team, the same old Royals on Saturday. And it got me thinking, so I went and did the research. 6 is a magic number for the Royals this season. The number 6. The Royals have scored 6 or more runs 18 times this season. I'm going to give you a visual aid. If you're over on the YouTube, and if you're not, again, the channel is 580 Sports Talk. But I want to give you a visual aid here, so bear with me a little bit. But I'm going to give you a visual aid of just how frustrating this has been, this trend for the Royals all season long. The Royals have scored 6 or more runs 18 times this season, and they have won every single one of those games. The Royals are 18-0 when they score 6 or more runs. Haven't lost. Haven't had a game where the offense was awesome, but the pitching lets them down. They lose like 7-6 or 10-9, lose a slugfest. Hasn't happened all year. They score 6, they win. 18-0 when they score 6 or more. But it's the game after that performance. I'm a big believer. I've said this before. Hitting can be contagious. And over the course of 9 innings, you see it, that hitting can be contagious. It was contagious on Friday. Vinny got the party going, and then the lower third of the order got a couple of knocks to keep the ball rolling. And next thing you know, it's a 9-run outburst for an offense that has lacked outbursts this season. But 18 times the Royals have scored 6 or more runs in a game. Do you know how many times that the Royals have followed that up with a similar outburst? Do you know how many times they've had back-to-back games with 6 or more runs this year? It has happened precisely twice. One of the times was against the Rangers in that doubleheader when they scored 6 against Jack Leiter, scored 6 the next night off of Patrick Corbin in the Rangers. The other time it happened on the same calendar day, April 24th. It happened against the worst team in history, the Colorado Rockies. That's it. Those are the only times all season that the Royals have had an offensive outburst and followed it immediately with another offensive outburst. More commonly, the Royals follow it up with a dud. And when I say a dud, I don't just mean, well, maybe they score 3 or 4 runs. No, I mean 3 or fewer runs happens a lot. The visual aid is coming up here, and there it is. If you are watching right now on the YouTube, again, the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. I'm going to clear the graphic so you can see. This is all 18 instances of the Royals scoring 6 or more runs in a game. They're all in gray in the graphic because they've won all of those games. In the next game, the game following, the Royals are 6-12. They are 6-12 following an offensive outburst. And only 5 times have the Royals scored more or 3 or more runs. 3 or more in the game following. That means 13 times after a Royals offensive outburst of 6 or more runs, the Royals have scored 2 runs or fewer. And in one of those instances, which was May 9th against the Red Sox at home, that second run and the first run of that game did not come until extra innings. And look, some of this is, I'm giving you the numbers without context. Some of the context is important here because a lot of times when you score a bunch of runs, it happens against a starting pitcher who's not real good, right? That's not always been the case for the Royals. They've really put their big offensive games together against kind of a motley crew of starting pitchers. There are some really good ones on the list, like they beat up Shane Baz earlier this year in Tampa Bay. They hung the 8th spot on Logan Webb in San Francisco. They put 10 runs on Andre Palante in St. Louis. Those guys are pretty okay. Nick Pivetta against the Padres is a really good starter. And they've put some big numbers on some bums like Kyle Gibson and Davis Martin and Mike Vassell and Emerson Hancock. So, there's diversity there. And so a lot of times when you're facing a not very good pitcher and you hang a bunch of runs on him, the next day, the next guy's turn is somebody really good. So the Royals have run into that where they've had an offensive outburst against the back end of somebody's rotation. And then the next game, you got to face Framber Valdez. like they did on May 13th after they scored 7 runs against Houston. They get 1 the next night. Or they had to face Pablo Lopez the game after they faced Logan Webb, and they only got 1 run off of him. Max Fried of the Rangers, they had to face him on June 9th after they scored 7 runs in that series finale win over the White Sox. I guess that would have been the 10th because they had the 9th off of travel day. And they only get 2 runs off of Max Fried. They only get 1 run off of Dylan Cease, 2 runs off of Logan Gilbert. Like, that's understandable. Some of that is understandable. But the fact that they have not been able to consistently follow one good offensive performance with another, that's a real thing. 13 times out of 18. When they go nuts one night, they are radio silent the next night. So that's the research. And they've only won 6 of the 18 games following those outbursts. And they've been fortunate that 3 of those wins have come in games where they scored 3 runs or fewer, thanks to some really outstanding pitching, theme of the season. But if you take away anything from that, and I hope you take a little something from that, but if you take something from that, number one, maybe you just don't believe in momentum at all, but there's certainly no momentum with this Royals lineup. They are just not able to take one good day and stack it on top of another good day and a good week. The closest they've come all season was that road trip through Texas and San Diego. And really that stretch before that too, when they were in St. Louis and Chicago against the White Sox. That was just when Caglione had just been called up, and obviously he hasn't given the Royals anything offensively. He's not really a big part of this, but that's the closest the Royals have come all year to having a little bit of offensive momentum. That 2-week stretch. But the momentum is fleeting. You know, they say in baseball, momentum's only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. The Royals have proof. It doesn't matter who the next day's starting pitcher is. They can just as easily go to sleep against the Tomoyuki Suganos and Chad Patricks and Ryan Nelsons of the world as they can against a Dylan Cease or a Max Fried. And that's infuriating because when you watch it on Friday night and they're hammering the ball and they're keeping the line moving and you think, well, just build on that. Do that again. It didn't look hard. It didn't look like extra special. And then they score 1 run the next night. Baseball's hard. Hitting is hard. I acknowledge all of that. But it is so frustrating. And a big part of why the Royals are in the spot that they're in, that they just haven't been able to get and stay hot, even for just like a week of good results at the plate or 2 weeks of good results at the plate. And you turn around and you've got another winning stretch like they had towards the end of April and early May. And one stretch like that could be all the Royals need to turn their season from kind of on the periphery of the wild card hunt to really in the thick of it. They're 5.5 out of a playoff spot right now. The good news for them is the Pirates are coming to town. And they didn't score a run this weekend. I don't know if you saw that. They did not score any runs. Not one. 3 games against Seattle, 0 runs. That followed a series, by the way, where their pitchers didn't give up any runs in a 3-game sweep. So look, they can pitch. Can't really hit. Kind of sounds like a worse version of the Royals, frankly. But this is an opportunity for the Royals at home to keep stacking some wins. And they do it after a happy flight. It's always easier to do when that's the case. We're going to take our first break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, it's the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was. Matt Berneram, our NFL insider, going to join me in about 10 minutes or so to talk some football. We're just getting started on this Monday edition. Thanks so much for being here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's do a little good, bad, ugly from the weekend that was, shall we? My good from the weekend. There's a lot of good. Enjoyed the holiday weekend. Enjoyed the 4th. I think my 1-year-old enjoyed the weekend. We had some fun. We got to the pool, and shout out to the neighborhood I live in, which nobody went crazy late with the fireworks. A good time was had by all. There are lots of pretty booms in the sky, but nobody went crazy late. My son was able to sleep through the night. No concerns, no waking up, anything like that. Street was clean. Our street was clean the next morning. Looked like it was good, orderly, and I hope that was the case in your neighborhoods too. That it was kept fairly orderly, fairly clean. It sounded like everybody had a really nice 4th of July, and the Royals won the series. And Michael Lorenzen was a pleasure to watch yesterday. I mean, a pleasure to watch pitch. He was awesome. And big shout out to Michael Lorenzen for taking care of business. Yeah, I love a pitching performance like that. Great way to finish a winning road trip for the Royals. My bad. The 4th of July hats. I know Major League Baseball does this to sell merch. They've been doing it a really long time. They make teams wear hats that aren't the team color. They're sort of like an America, it's a very America theme. It might be the stars and stripes or in the hat or in the logo, or they've had some pretty outlandish designs over the years that have been, patriotic themed and all of that. 2 reasons this year's hats were the worst. Number one, I like light blue, Carolina blue, sky blue, Royals blue, whatever you want to call that light shade of blue. But you know what that ain't? That ain't on our flag. That ain't America blue. That ain't the red, white, and blue. So I have a problem with it in that regard. Number 2, the stupid rope. What is with the rope hats? Why are those back? Can somebody help me? Can somebody help me with that? The rope hats look stupid. You look ridiculous. You look like a 3rd-year frat boy majoring in environmental sciences because it's the throw-off major at your college, and you've got some really problematic vocabulary. That's what you look like when you wear the rope hat. Don't wear the rope hat. Those are so bad. They should have just had a Barstool Sports logo on the side. That's how bad the rope hats were. Those are my bad. They're also like ugly, but they were not my ugly from the weekend. I really have an ugly from the weekend, to be honest with you. I thought the weekend was pretty good. I didn't have a big problem with anything that happened this weekend. So, I could skip the ugly today. How about we do that? How about we skip ugly today? Celebrate the good. I hope it was, again, a good weekend for all of you. Hope you were safe. Hope you enjoyed family and barbecue, or not barbecue if you just did, pizza or chicken fingers or whatever you want to do to celebrate the 4th. Hope you celebrate responsibly. Hope you have fun. And again, hope you have all your fingers and toes from if you did choose to do the fireworks thing. We'll step aside for a break. Spencer coming off vacation and off the top rope with a vote for the rope hats. Nah, man. Spence, I don't get it. You youngs out there are bringing back the rope hats. I don't know. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. All you youths with your rope hats. They should have had mesh backs and instead of the team logo, they should have had like a local auto parts store. Looked like a cheap Little League design that you got back in the 1980s. Spencer, I hope you're having an awesome vacation, man. I appreciate you jumping in and giving me a hard time. We'll step aside for a timeout. We'll come back. Matt Verneram going to join us. We'll talk some football next here at 580 Sports Talk. We are out to Matt Verderam, our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. And also That Football Show, the KC Sports Network. Plus his own subscriber-only Patreon, The Matt Verderam Show. Looking out for Matt. Hope to be able to get in touch with him here in the next little while. He joined us every Monday on the Fleming Place Wine Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. And hopefully we can connect with Matt here shortly. Having a little phone connection issue. But for today, we're going to talk about a little bit about some of the AFC contenders, and could talk about that list of the top quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era that Matt voted on in the over at SB Nation. I couldn't come up with SB Nation there for a second. Yeah, over at SBNation.com. He voted on a list of the top 30 quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. I believe 10 through 1 come out tomorrow. So we will get his thoughts on that. Also, recently had an article about as part of the 32 teams in 32 days series over at SI.com about the Rams and how they expect to be Super Bowl contenders. Also talked about the Packers and the Seahawks recently, so we're hoping to get his thoughts on that. What we're going to do is we're going to take another minute here or so as a quick break, and when we come back, hopefully, Matt Verderam will be able to join us, and we will speak with Matt and have our NFL insider join us next here on 580 Sports Talk. We're back on 580 Sports Talk. Again, still out to Matt Verderam. Hopefully he can join us here shortly. Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated, our NFL insider, joins us every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. I was talking about that SB Nation quarterback list, again, over at SBNation.com. It's the best quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. And not every voter, and Matt was explaining this when we had him on, we were talking to him about it last time. Not every voter adhered to the same standards. Matt was really focused on the bit about it being the Super Bowl era, so didn't consider any body of work that came prior to the Super Bowl era. Like, for example, Johnny Unitas was not on his list because most of Unitas's best work as a quarterback came before the Super Bowl era. But he would consider other quarterbacks from that era as long as their best work came starting with the 1966 season and on forward. Guys like Bart Starr, for instance, who he did have on his list. The list of quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford was number 30. It's the top 30 list. Matthew Stafford was number 30 on the list. Bob Greasy, 29th. Len Dawson, 28th. Johnny Unitas was 27th. Ken Stabler's 26th. Ken Anderson, former Bengal, 25th. Then Joe Namath, Lamar Jackson, Phillip Rivers, and Josh Allen rounding out the top 30. And I was interested. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago with Matt in whether he had Allen ranked ahead of Jackson as the Wisdom of Crowds did, and he did. He had Allen ranked ahead of Jackson. Continuing the list, Bart Starr's number 20, Kurt Warner 19th, Warren Moon 18th, Troy Aikman 17th, Fran Tarkenton, number 16. Jim Kelly in the middle of the list at number 15. Then Dan Fouts at number 14. Terry Bradshaw at number 13. Ben Roethlisberger at number 12. Roger Staubach, number 11. Again, 10 through 1, not out yet. It'll be out, I believe, want to say tomorrow. Or it might already be out. I might see if I can find. No, it looks like it'll come out, be coming out soon, later this week. But fascinated by that list. You know, and it's funny, you probably think as you're hearing the list, you think, wait a minute, how are guys who never won Super Bowls on this list? Well, you think of the quarterbacks who've won Super Bowls. We've had 59 of these things. Think of the quarterbacks who've won them. You winning a Super Bowl doesn't put you in the top 30 all time. Like, we're not making space for Brad Johnson or Trent Dilfer or Jalen Hurts or, guys like that. This is a 13-person panel. Again, it's over at SBNation.com. Jarrett Bailey is the author of the list. And I think Brady's going to be number 1. I think that's probably a slam dunk. I would probably go Manning number 2, Mahomes number 3, and just because there's a fuller body of work, a post-prime body of work for Peyton Manning, and we don't know what Patrick Mahomes' post-prime is going to look like because he's in his prime. He is mid-prime right now. We are seeing, or we should be seeing this year and the next couple, some of the best football we've ever seen from Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what it's going to look like for Mahomes as he gets into his mid-30s, late 30s. I think a lot of his skills are going to translate really well. There's no reason to believe that he's going to have a sharp decline as a quarterback. But I do think that if we're ranking best of an era, best of a now 60-year era coming up on 60 Super Bowls, I think it's fair to give the nod to somebody like Manning with a little bit of we have a fuller understanding of what their entire body of work looked like. Of course, I'm sympathetic to the argument that it took Manning a really long time to win his championship. And then when he won a second championship, it was the last year of his career, and he was a passenger with that great Bronco defense of 2015. So I'm sympathetic to the idea and the argument that you want to put Mahomes ahead of Peyton Manning. All right, I'm listening. But I think that's 2 and 3 in whatever order you want to put it. Don't think the list has run into, I'm scrolling, Bradshaw was 13th. Staubach was 11. Probably, I don't have any quarrel with that. Steve Young is probably going to be top 10. I think he's on the lower part of the top 10 for me. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers are really interesting. This is something I was talking about with Brendan off the air. You know, Brendan's a Packers fan, big Rodgers guy. Not maybe so much anymore. That's a little fraught these days. If you say you're a big Aaron Rodgers fan these days, that's one of those you have to say the player. And look, he's not the only one. I also have to specify that my childhood favorite football player was Brett Favre, the player. I'm an admirer of Brett Favre, the football player. It helps. It's good. It's beneficial to be real specific about that. So Rodgers is really interesting historically, though, because let me ask you this question. Aaron Rodgers has 4 MVPs, right? Puts him in pretty rarefied air. Aaron Rodgers, 4 MVPs. Favre only has the 3. He won them all in a row. Rodgers had some, again, kind of like what you would consider post-prime outside of his prime athletic years. He won MVPs. He's got the championship. So it's not like you look at his career like we look at Dan Marino's career where it just doesn't feel complete. Like Dan Marino, he's already been on this list, I believe. Or did I misread that? No, I misread that. Marino's going to be top 10. Marino damn sure should be top 10. That is correct. Good job by the voters. I was going to be really upset if Marino was outside the top 10 because, I mean, skill-wise, you talk about a guy ahead of his time. I don't know that there's ever been a quarterback more ahead of their time in the way that Dan Marino was obviously ahead of his time. Like, there were, like, athletic, scrambling, quarterbacks who were ahead, like Randall Cunningham was ahead of his time. And there were others who were like that. But Marino certainly ahead of his time. But we look at him without the Super Bowl and we think, he was great, but and Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that hanging over his head. But this is the question about Aaron Rodgers. And when you really think about this, I think you come to an interesting place with your answer. Was Aaron Rodgers ever the best quarterback in the NFL? Was there ever a time in Aaron Rodgers' career where he was undisputedly the best quarterback in the National Football League? And how long was that period of time, if he was? Because all of the all-time no-joke greats of the game, like, had a period of time where they were the best. Like, Brady is you're probably saying for Brady it was like the mid 2010s. Brady had that, and if you're arguing for Rodgers, you're saying you had him ahead of Brady in the mid 2010s. But like, Brady was still going. He went to the Super Bowl in 2011, which was right after Rodgers won his. Brady kept getting them back. They won 49. They got to 51 and 52 and 53. Like, that period of time is Brady's time, where he was the guy. Certainly he was in the conversation in the 2000s along with Peyton Manning. How long was Rodgers' window as the best quarterback in the league? The undisputed best quarterback in the league. Did he have much more than that 1 year? And even in that 1 year, like, that was also the period where Peyton Manning's neck got funky on him and almost cost him his career. And like, Brady got back to the Super Bowl the year after Rodgers won his title. You know who it's like? You know who it's a very similar argument. And I know this is a cross sport example, but it's sort of like the Kobe Bryant argument, where Kobe Bryant's historical greatness is, I mean, there are people out there who say, that's my GOAT. Give me a break. Give me a break. That's ridiculous. But outside of like the stands, the Kobe stands, like, yes, Kobe Bryant is an all-time great NBA player. When was he the best player in the NBA? When was he the best? When was he the very best player in the league? Was he ever the best player in the league? Because, like, you kind of go from Shaq to Tim Duncan to LeBron, and like, even in that middle period where it was up for grabs between Shaq and LeBron, and I think that's pretty obviously Tim Duncan, but like, Steve Nash was winning the MVPs in those years, and Kobe was stuck on some sorry Lakers teams with like Smush Parker and trying to get traded to the Clippers. And then when Kobe won his rings in 09, 2010, it was LeBron's league. We were living in LeBron's world at that point. So it's kind of the same with Rodgers, where if there was a window where he was the best guy, like, he might be a top 5 guy like ever. And physical talent speaking, he might be a top 5 guy ever. But if he was ever the guy, it's a really short period of time, because you think of the 2000, this is just back of the napkin math here, I guess, if you want to call it that. But like, it was Manning or Brady through most of the 2000s. Brady got the edge. Manning's neck went. Rodgers is ascending at that time frame, along with Ben Roethlisberger, who was part of this conversation too. Rodgers got his Super Bowl, and then Brady started going back to Super Bowls right after that. There was that little interregnum between 2007 and 2011 where we had some questions about Brady, tore up his knee. Maybe that was the window for Rodgers, but then Brady got back to the top and went to the 4 Super Bowls in 5 years, and then Mahomes. And Mahomes has been the correct answer. Who is the best quarterback in the NFL? It's Patrick Mahomes. Oh, but he didn't win the MVP. Don't care. Still the best player in the league. That's how that goes. We're not asking who is the best player for a single season. We're asking who's got the belt. Who's the guy who would go number 1 in every quarterback draft? And the answer has been Mahomes since probably his second year as a starter. He's been the undisputed guy. So if Rodgers ever had a window, it was a really small one. And that's interesting about him historically. I still probably put him number 4. Man, maybe Marino. Rodgers has the ring. I'll go Rodgers. Rodgers, Marino, Favre, 4, 5, 6 for me. And I'm probably forgetting some. I know Elway is going to be in the top 10. Montana, obviously, you have to put Montana. Montana's 4. I'm sorry. Forget everything I said. Montana's 4, and then 5 can be either Marino or Rodgers. That's my top 5. Montana's 4, behind Brady, Manning, and Mahomes. We're going to get to a quick break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour. 580 Sports Talk next. Wrapping up our discussion about best quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era, I think Gilliland family's got the top 10. Brady, Mahomes, Manning, Montana, Elway, Marino, Rodgers, Favre, Young, Breeze. I don't know if that's the order I'd put them in, but I think that is the 10. I think that'll be the top 10 on SB Nation's list. Again, I think they're going to drop it either later today, maybe tomorrow morning. We'll get to see the top 10 of the Super Bowl era. Jeffrey asking, where is Jim Plunkett? He won a Super Bowl, certainly did win a championship, but he's probably outside the top 30 for me too. Just, I don't know. He had some longevity, but the numbers just probably weren't there for him. But yeah, I think Gilliland family's got the top 10 right. I think those are going to be the final 10. And I go Brady, Manning, Mahomes, Montana, Rodgers, my top 5. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, my preseason Big 12 football poll. What is wrong with you? And then Brendan takes over. That's coming up. 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Welcome in. My name's Dan Lucero. Feeling good, feeling great. How are you on this Monday? Thanks for being with us here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. So glad you're with us. Lots more to get to before we hand the baton at 6 o'clock to the Royals Baseball Network for the first of 3 at the K against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Royals and Pirates interleague play this week. Noah Cameron gets things started on the mound for KC. And again, pregame coverage at 6 o'clock before the first pitch from Kauffman Stadium tonight at 6:40. 3-game series, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all-night games before a day off Thursday, then 3 at home with the Mets before the All-Star break. More baseball talk a little bit later on in the program. Also got plenty of Chiefs to get to as our countdown to Chiefs kickoff reaches 60 days. This is your 60-day notice for Chiefs football. And number 60 for the Kansas City Chiefs is Hunter Nourzad. And Brendan is going to talk a little bit about him. Brendan Dworzinski, he's going to join the show here in just a little while. He's going to talk about not just Hunter Nourzad, but the rest of the draft class of 2024 for the Chiefs and just how important that draft class is and why it has increased in importance for the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward, that draft class of 2024 that Nourzad was a part of. So that's coming up. More baseball talk coming up. This hour, we got What Is Wrong With You coming up. Start a new week of What Is Wrong With You. Brendan's going to hop in for that. And then he's taking the wheel for the rest of the day, and he will be at the wheel Tuesday and Wednesday while I am at the wheel in a much more literal sense, and I will be getting on the road to Frisco, Texas for Big 12 Football Media Days. That is tomorrow and Wednesday from the Star in Frisco, and I'll be there. And we'll be bringing you exclusive interviews and audio and conversations from Big 12 Media Days over the next 2 days. So very excited to be there and bring you some great stuff. We're going to have content to last us ages. We're going to have so many interviews, lots of good stuff coming up from Big 12 Football Media Days. No food sponsor this year. We have talked about this in the past, and we have gone to Big 12 Media Days. A frequent sponsor of Big 12 Media Days was Old Trapper Beef Jerky. And they were generous with the product, the folks at Old Trapper. They made sure you left Jerry World. This is back when the event was at AT&T Stadium there in Arlington. They made sure you left Jerry World with some Old Trapper Beef Jerky of all kinds of flavors. Myself and Jake LeBon probably come back every year with half a dozen bags. And we were not alone in this. When we weren't like hoarding or stealing, we were just, in position to benefit from the generosity of the promo folks with Old Trapper. Anyway, Old Trapper didn't sponsor the Big 12 Media Days last year, and we didn't go because they were in Las Vegas. And Brett Yormark said, well, what if we put them where we don't have any teams? And I don't know if it was a success or not. All I know is they're not in Vegas this year. They're back in Dallas. So, draw your own conclusions. But last year, the sponsor was Totino's, the pizza rolls. And maybe they do other things too. I don't know. What else does Totino's make? I don't know. They got the pizza rolls game on lockdown. I know that much. But anyhow, we never really got clarity on what the giveaway situation there was, because the thing about pizza rolls, they don't travel great. That's not the kind of thing you can throw in your go bag and then on the drive back or the flight back from Vegas to whatever Big 12 city you're coming from, nosh on some pizza rolls like you can with the jerky, right? And I know some of this is inside baseball, and it probably sounds like I'm bragging about getting free beef jerky, which I don't know if there's ever been a lighter flex in the history of flexes, but there's no food sponsor this year. The title sponsor of Big 12 Football Media Days this year is Microsoft Copilot, which is their AI. And I don't think that's something I can take home and put in the pantry and share with my wife. But that is the title sponsor this year, Microsoft Copilot. I don't think Brett Yormark's going to be standing at the entrance to the Star saying, "Welcome, here is a complimentary Microsoft Surface tablet." Though, let's be clear, I wouldn't turn one down. So I don't know. I don't know what the situation is, but the end of an era a little bit. I may have to buy a bag of Old Trapper beef jerky for nostalgia's sake. The old fashioned for me. My wife kind of liked the teriyaki kind. So anyway, that's coming up. I'll be leaving here in about half an hour and getting on down to the Dallas area, doing a little Texas two-step for the Big 12 football media days, powered by Microsoft Copilot. And in that spirit, I'm going to start this hour with the Big 12 preseason media poll that the Big 12 doesn't want. They don't want my opinion or the opinion of any other media member this year to color the opinions of the Kirk Herbstreits and the Urban Meyers and the other TV talking heads of the world regarding the quality, let's say, for lack of a better word, than the Big 12 conference. So there's no preseason media poll this year. But I still filled one out, and you're going to hear about it. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to share it with you. The Big 12 may not want it, but perhaps you are interested in how I think the Big 12 will finish this coming season. So that's coming up. Want to hear from you in the YouTube comments. If you're watching on YouTube, we're up to 756 subscribers. Who will get us to 760 today? Are there 4 heroes out there who will get us to 760 subscribers as we get closer to the 800 subscribers that it will take for Brendan and I to arm wrestle live on camera during an episode of the show? I know I got 4 heroes out there who have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're going to go do it today. You're going to be the hero. 4 of you are going to be the hero. Go to YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, watch the program on YouTube, interact in the live chat with our listeners. Appreciate the well wishes for a safe trip. Jeffrey says, bring a cooler and ice, way ahead of you. And not because I'm particularly smart, because my wife is. Abby wouldn't let me leave the house without a cooler full of drinks. So I'm all set in that department. But thanks for looking out for me. Appreciate it. Appreciate the well wishes. You can also text the show 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. You can text the program. Some Royals text from earlier in the show. One from the 785. The Royals sweep the homestand coming up. They'll be over 500 at the break. I think 4-2 this week would be really excellent. I think 4-2 or better, and they'll be in good shape because it's a lot of teams in that wild card hunt going the wrong way. The Royals took steps forward this week. There's a lot of teams taking steps backward. Minnesota's sliding. Cleveland is forget about Cleveland. I think you're going to start to see the Angels go in the wrong direction, and the Royals just got to keep climbing. Keep steadily climbing. 4-2 or better this week, I think they need. Another one from the 785 says, I hope the Royals don't let Brian Reynolds leave Kansas City. Several more years of team-controlled, cheap contract as far as his production goes. That was a big rumor towards the end of last week. We talked about it on Friday's show. Royals were interested in Pirates outfielder Brian Reynolds. I like the fit a lot. Royals need short and long-term offensive solutions. And I think Reynolds is one of those professional hitters that'll help make your lineup better. Said the same thing about Jonathan India, I know, but Reynolds is better than India, better player. So I like the fit. I think if they go out and they make the move for him and they agree to eat the whole contract through 2030, number one, not going to cost you maybe your biggest prospect haul, and number two, you got left field sorted out for the next half a decade, and you don't need Reynolds. Reynolds don't make sense for the Royals. Pushing all the chips in for one run at a wild card spot, Reynolds don't make sense. But Reynolds makes sense because he's not a rental in that regard. Appreciate everybody chiming in. Hey, shout out to a new subscriber, Colin. Welcome to the show. Colin is a new subscriber on 580 Sports Talk YouTube, and let us know about it. We appreciate you, Colin. There's one of our heroes. And see if we can get 3 more. Get up to 760 before the show ends today. Go subscribe on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk. All right. Big 12 preseason awards came out today, in case you missed that. Austin Romaine and Will Swanson of K-State, first team preseason all-conference. Romaine at middle linebacker, Swanson at H-back. Bryce Foster of KU, first team on the offensive line. So congratulations to them. Your preseason offensive player of the year, Arizona State's Sam Leavitt. Defensive Player of the Year, Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez. Preseason Newcomer of the Year, Devin Dampier, quarterback for Utah. Brendan Dworzynski will give you a fuller account of all of those preseason all-conference players in the headlines in the 5 o'clock hour. I didn't have any big beefs. I thought it was a pretty good list. I might have gone with David Bailey, the defensive end for Tech, over Dampier for Newcomer of the Year. And I do think that Dylan Edwards will end up having a better year than either of the running backs that were first-team all-conference. Other than that, I thought the coaches did a good job. The media used to get to vote for that stuff. And we used to get to do a preseason poll. And this year, we don't get to do a preseason poll. No Big 12 preseason media poll this year by decree of the Big 12 Conference. But that doesn't mean I don't have an opinion. And so without further ado, and if you're watching on a YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, if you're watching, I'm going to put up a graphic that will have my preseason poll. Here it is. This is my poll from number 16 to number 1 for Big 12 football in 2025. I'll start at the bottom, and I will work my way to the top. The dregs of the league, I don't need to spend a lot of time on. At number 16, bottom of the league, I have West Virginia. I think that Rich Rodriguez can do some things that will make West Virginia at least more fun to watch than they were under Neil Brown, but I'm not a believer in Nico Marchiol. I don't think that roster is particularly strong, and I'm kind of afraid that Rich Rod isn't the innovator he used to be. He was an innovator the first time around. He was doing things nobody had seen before at West Virginia. I don't think he's on the cutting edge anymore. I kind of think Jacksonville State, where he's coming from, I kind of think that's more his speed now as a coach. It's not a knock. I don't think Rich Rodriguez is built to have success at the Power 4 level in 2025. So I got them dead last. I have Oklahoma State one spot above that. I just don't think they can go 0-9 2 straight years in the conference. But that roster is just a huge question mark. And Mike Gundy might just be completely checked out at this point. You could argue me into them being in another order. But, West Virginia 16, Oklahoma State 15. I have UCF 14. Again, long-term play, Scott Frost at UCF, I think makes a certain amount of sense. But I just don't think they have the horses. I still think they're undermanned in the trenches. And I think this will be another down year for UCF. Colorado, 13th. I think having the best player in America play on both sides of the ball was keeping a lot of things afloat at Colorado last year. And they have a much tougher schedule this year. Last year, they ended up with a super easy schedule. They didn't have to play Iowa State. They didn't have to play BYU until the Alamo Bowl. They didn't have to play the kind of teams that could beat them up. And this year, they play the kinds of teams that can beat them up. And I think they will get beat up. I think Colorado takes a big step back this year. I have them 13th. Arizona, 12th. I want to believe in Brent Brennan. I don't. I want to still believe in Noah Fafita because he was so good 2 years ago. But now he doesn't have, 2 years ago, he had 2 NFL wide receivers, or 3. And last year, he had 1. And this year, I don't know that he's got any. So that's a problem for Arizona. I just didn't seem like things were trending in the right direction for them. As far as vibes go, they're not in a real good place. So I have Arizona 12th. 11th, I have Houston. Again, I'm a big Willie Fritz fan. You guys who listen to the show know this is a pro Willie Fritz program, 580 Sports Talk. Is Connor Wegman good? I kind of don't think he's good enough to get this team into the top half of the conference. But if there's any team in the bottom half that I am prepared to be the most wrong about, it is Houston. Because I really believe in their coach. They were kind of nasty defensively with a bunch of no-names last year. And Wegman's got the prospect pedigree. It's just a matter of him putting it all together. No easy feat. So Houston's 11th. I have Cincinnati 10th. Just because I like their quarterback better, Sorsby, back for a second year. Not a big Scott Satterfield fan. I don't love the vibes of that program particularly. I have Cincinnati 10th. I have TCU 9th. I just don't really have a lot to say about TCU. Just kind of a perfectly average, sort of mediocre football team to me. We will be trying to explain decades from now. We will be trying and grasping for the explanation as to how TCU played for a national championship once. We will look back at that and say, yeah, man, sometimes college football is weird. That'll be the only explanation we have for it. That's how well it went for Sonny Dykes once. So that's the bottom half of the league. West Virginia 16, Oklahoma State 15, UCF 14, Colorado 13, Arizona 12, Houston 11, Cincinnati 10, TCU 9. I have BYU 8th. I would have had them higher, but now their quarterback situation is a mess. I might have them too high now, frankly. They've got 3 guys with some pedigree and experience. If one of them emerges, like I wasn't really sure Jake Retzlaff was going to be that guy last year, and he was. So if they did it once, they can do it again, still have an identity, still hard as hell to play at home. So I kept BYU in the top half of the league, but they're the bottom of the top half. Number 7, I have Kansas. I think they can finish in the top half of the league, but this is sort of the dividing line. The 6 teams ahead of Kansas, I think, can win the league. Kansas is the best team that I have trouble seeing winning the league, if that makes sense. Like, I think their best year probably looks like 9-3, but I don't see them getting to a 10-2, an 11-1. I just think they lost too much, and I don't know that the ceiling for Jalen Daniels, I think it's a decent ceiling, but I don't think it's an astronomically high, carry a team on his back to Arlington kind of high. So I think Kansas will be good. I have them being the best team that I think is just outside of that real contender tier. I have 6 teams that I believe can win the league. 6th, I have Baylor. We're gassing up Baylor because they had a great second half of last season, but they beat on a lot of the dregs of the league while they were doing it. I'm not sure how much more ceiling there is for Sawyer Robertson on that offense because everything went right for them in the second half last year. But they played a bunch of bummy teams and a Kansas team that was out of gas in the last week of the season. So I think we might be overrating Baylor a little bit. They're Phil Steele's pick to win the league. I don't know about that, Phil. I think they'll be good. But I trust them the least because I do wonder if we're overrating them just a little bit. I think this could be too high for Baylor, honestly, because last year, week 4, we thought Dave Aranda was a dead man walking. And then they fattened up against the bottom of the Big 12 for 2 months. And look, wins are wins, and they put up offensive numbers, impossible to ignore, but are we giving that too much credit given the strength of schedule? So Baylor at number 6. Number 5, I have Texas Tech. The reason I don't have Tech any higher, they went all in on beefing up line play in the portal. I think that makes a certain amount of sense. I do wonder how feasible it is to build a good offensive line through the portal. Ask Colorado how that works or doesn't. But I got questions about Baron Morton. I just don't know if they've got the guy at quarterback. And the 4 teams I have ahead of them and the 2 teams I have behind them, frankly, I know they've got the guy. I don't know if Baron Morton is on that level. I don't. I think best case scenario, he can be, but he doesn't get there for me. So that's why I have Tech 5th. Crazy talent, could absolutely win the league if Morton is that guy. I just don't know sitting here on July 7th that he is. 4th in my preseason Big 12 poll. That's where I have Utah. I think that they have talent in the trenches. They have an identity. They're going to be nasty on defense. Devin Dampier could get them to Arlington. Devin Dampier could also be just a good enough mid-major quarterback. He could be Daquan Finn, who lost his job immediately at Baylor last year. He could be that. So that's the question I have for Dampier. What is he? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, and that's good enough for a top 4 finish for Utah. Number 3, I have Arizona State. Arizona State, number 3 for me. It's a tougher schedule this year. They did not have. I was really torn between 2 and 3. I didn't think I felt good about number 1, but I was really back and forth between number 3 and number 2. Number 3 is Arizona State, and number 2 is Iowa State. And the reason that I have Iowa State second ahead of Arizona State, because I feel about the same about Becht as I do about Leavitt at quarterback. I feel better about Iowa State's defense. I feel better about Iowa State's offensive identity because so much, I mean, as much as I like Leavitt and love Jordan Tyson, Arizona State was the Scadaboo show last year. What does it look like without Scadaboo? And I think they've got just a tougher slate of road games than Iowa State does. So I have Iowa State second. And then in first place, I have the team Iowa State plays in Ireland to start the year, and I have Kansas State number 1. I think they have the most talented roster top to bottom and the highest ceiling offensively with Avery Johnson and Dylan Edwards. Those guys have a chance to be truly spectacular. And I don't know that the ceiling for Iowa State or Arizona State, I don't know that the offensive ceiling for Utah gets too spectacular. And I think Kansas State could very well have the best defense in the Big 12. It'll be them or Tech. I think those are the two best defenses. Utah's in that conversation. BYU will be gnarly because they always are. But I think those are the best defenses in the conference. So you're pairing one of the two best defenses in the conference with a quarterback with the highest ceiling in the conference and maybe the running back with the highest ceiling in the conference and a rebuilt offensive line. I will take Kansas State. And I will say Kansas State and Iowa State will start the Big 12 season in Dublin, and they will finish it in Arlington. That is the Big 12 preseason poll that the Big 12 themselves did not ask for. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, it's What is Wrong with You time on 580 Sports Talk. It is What is Wrong with You time on 580 Sports Talk. What is Wrong with You? Sponsored by our buddy Mo, State Farm Agent Ryan Mo Winkle. Go check out his website, ryanmowinkle.com. That's MOHWINKLE.com. In the off chance that you are a part of someone else's What is Wrong with You story. Joining us for What is Wrong with You and the rest of the show today is Brendan Wrzezinski. Brendan, hi!
Howdy.
How you doing, man?
I told you all that I was going to be gone for a while, and now I'm going to be on the show 5 days in a row, so I should have saved my announcement for another couple weeks, apparently.
Yeah. Look, if I'm Sam Malone, you're Woody, and you're Tendon Bar for the next couple of days.
Yeah, people forget Woody was not on the show the entire time.
No, he
he was there for the whole end part of it.
Right.
He wasn't there at the beginning.
You know, sometimes you're also starring, and sometimes you are starring.
Yeah.
So that's how it works sometimes.
Yeah. So we're here for the rest of the, well, not the rest of the week. We're here through Wednesday.
Well,
we're going to enjoy it.
Yes.
We're here through the rest of the show today.
Yeah, you'll be in charge while I am gallivanting about the Cowboys practice facility trying to chase down some beef jerky, even though Old Trapper is not the sponsor of Big 12 Media Days this year.
They've got to have some still, though.
Fingers
right?
crossed, man. It
How
wouldn't
do you
be the same without
this
it.
conference at all to any degree and not bring the jerky?
So
bring some home, by the way.
I will do my best. If there is jerky, I will bring some back. We got 2 new stories on what is wrong with you today. I will go first, and we began with an airplane heading from San Juan, Puerto Rico to Dallas. And a passenger was snooping on someone else's phone, sitting in his seat on the airplane and not able to mind his own damn business. And he looked over at somebody else's phone screen and saw another passenger receive a text message that said RIP, which stands for rest in peace. And this passenger thought that meant something was about to happen to the plane and forced the flight to return to San Juan, based entirely on one overseen text message.
With apparently no context?
With no context. The plane was eventually cleared to depart again after the threat was deemed non-credible. I don't know how far it looks like it was shortly after takeoff that the plane was diverted back to San Juan, but was eventually able to reach its final destination of Dallas.
But even so, you have to go through the whole process of getting on the plane and then taxiing and then taking off. And then however long you're in the air, you come back, you got to taxi again after turning around. Then they got to get you to a gate as soon as possible. Then you have to take off again after the plane is searched. I mean, this must have taken, at best, the better part of an hour. Here's where I come down on this. If I'm the guy who was receiving the text, I'm the guy who got the RIP text, I'm taking this dude next to me, and I'm giving him a brain buster on the wing of the plane. Like, this dude is getting a Kevin Steen package pile driver right into the Atlantic Ocean.
Right?
No. You ain't getting to Dallas, buddy. You and I are settling this here on the island.
First of all, mind your own business. Second, keep your eyes on your own phone screen, pal. Second of all, like, you get an RIP text. It could mean anything. They could have been like talking about Dave Parker dying. Like, you throw that in the group chat. Oh, man, the Cobra died. Dave Parker. He was one of my favorites. Loved him with the Pirates. Somebody sends back, RIP. And that gets a flight turned around?
No, we're having the punch out in Puerto Rico as soon as this plane gets back.
Absolutely outrageous. Over, dude. Absolutely outrageous. What is wrong with you today?
I'm putting you in the Cobra clutch immediately in front of God and everyone. All right, we're going to another wild place. That's Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Dan, you have a pool.
Yes, I do.
When you got to clean it, when you get out the skimmer, what do you usually fish out of the pool? Like leaves, twigs?
Leaves, acorns.
Acorns,
you get some acorns in the fall. But yeah, it's mostly leaves, branches, every now and again, dead bug.
Well,
there's a squirrel in there once.
A pool owner in Fort Lauderdale, he had to call police to his house, and they used the skimmer to try to get a naked guy out of the pool.
Uh-oh.
Residents of a Fort Lauderdale home had to call police after a naked stranger went for a swim in their pool and refused to get out. Police units responded to a home near Northeast 10th Avenue after the homeowner said the man just appeared in his pool in his birthday suit and refused to leave on Wednesday. Officers were forced to pull the nude man from the pool. One man, Javier Cavero, said it was like 8 police surrounding him. He was right in the middle of the pool, acting weird. Cavero is one of the people who lives at the house, and even said that the man got out of the pool before jumping back in.
Like a dog. A puppy.
They chased him around, and he jumped back in the pool. The naked man even splashed water at officers as Cavero watched the bizarre scene. He was throwing water at them, he said. I mean, the police were very patient. They first tried speaking with the man, trying to convince him to leave the pool. They offered him a soda pop at one point. Then, after several failed attempts to convince the intruder to leave, they tried to grab him and pull him out. They used the pool skimmer. They tried to lasso him with a hose. This is all on video. It took almost 4 hours to get this naked man out of the pool.
You know that man was suffering from the kind of shrinkage that you read about in horror books.
George Costanza can only imagine having shrinkage like that. Cavero said he didn't want anyone to get hurt. It was just interesting. He asked police officers, if you guys ever encountered someone in the middle of a pool? And they said never. But they finally got him out around 8 o'clock. From 4 until 8. This family could have eaten dinner and gotten some chores done and still had this naked dude
Fish this guy out
hanging out in their pool.
No, that's outrageous. That is outrageous.
They tried to lasso him with a hose. It's hysterical to watch.
So funny. Man, 2 doozies today. 2 really good ones.
Man, I can't believe I'm going to vote against my story. If this happened to me, I'm serious. One of us is not going to make it to Dallas, Texas. One of us is not going to get there. Bare knuckle boxing is going to decide who makes it there.
If you're reading my text and you get the plane diverted based on the content of my text, no, that's not happening. Like, I understand people are on edge about flying lately. Like, I get it, you know, and by lately, I mean, like, for the last 24 years. I understand people can be edgy on flights. But look, man, that's not enough. That's not enough evidence. One text that says RIP, and it shouldn't be your concern in the first damn place.
Got a text from the 615 that says, forget OnlyFans, here comes Only Swims. Oh, man.
Here's one from the 785. This is interesting. I'm a retired commercial pilot. We have a lot of redundant systems for our aircraft, lots of training for in-flight emergencies, but nothing for RIP text by passengers. Give us a break. A diversion is for your safety.
Well,
like, I understand that. I
yes,
do. But at the same time,
trying to add humor to the
Yes.
situation.
At the same time, it feels like, one, a little overreaction, and 2, very much could have been averted if y'all would just mind your own business.
Now, if the text line wants to vote for the naked guy in the pool, I'm fine voting for the naked guy in the pool. I'm not going to complain about that.
Like, Jeffrey in YouTube comments calls him the unholy diver.
Man, these are 2 good stories.
They are. Man, it's hard. It's so hard to pick a winner. Yeah, I'm going to go with getting a flight diverted because you can't keep your eyes to yourself, basically. Yeah. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And then to assume, like, if you can get an RIP text for so many reasons. Like, my grandmother just died, or yeah, man, Dave Parker was cool. Like, it could have been something. It could have been something like that. It could have been anything.
People do also say that just as slang.
Yeah,
like, I've gotten like, oh man, this weird dude who keeps looking over my shoulder just ripped one, and it smells terrible in this cabin. Oh, rip.
Yeah, you send that RIP in peace to, like, if your favorite sports team loses 3 in a row. Yeah. Like,
respect to the sanctity of the profession. I appreciate our pilot for reaching it.
Yes, thank you for the text. We do appreciate the additional perspective from the 75.
Smartest listeners in sports radio. But I'm also very single-minded. I'm a very myopic person sometimes. And maybe I had plans. This is very divisive, though. We got text coming in about the diver here. This is a good day.
Yeah, man. Maybe, wow.
We are being currently outvoted by the listenership.
We are. Maybe we need to
should we do a triple threat match tomorrow?
Yeah, I think can we call it a draw?
Sure. We made the segment. We can do whatever we want.
This is true. It's a tie on what is wrong with you between the unholy diver and the overreaction.
We'll sleep on it.
Yeah.
We'll sleep on it.
We'll do that. That's what we'll do.
We had to do that once before when we didn't know if a guy survived. Remember the guy who built his own plane?
Yes.
We were like, hey, we're going to tentatively pick this one.
We don't know.
But if it turns out he didn't make it, we got to can this one.
This is a rarity where we're both really convinced on one story and our listeners are really convinced on the other story. So we're just going to carry them both into tomorrow.
Guy who's sleeping on it's the right call.
Yeah, we'll figure it out tomorrow on What Is Wrong With You. Sponsored by State Farm agent Ryan Mowinkle. Again, the website, Ryan Mowinkle, MOHWINKLE.com. Brendan, I'm going to toss you the keys. I'm going to go get a set of keys myself, and I'm going to Frisco, Texas.
Sounds like a good time, my man.
I will talk to you guys tomorrow from the Star for Big 12 Football Media Days. The start of it will be K-State Day tomorrow. In the meantime, Brendan's going to take you the rest of the way here on 580 Sports Talk.
6:42 on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski here with you in studio, high up on Huntoon Hill. Dan Lucero hitting the road. Big 12 media days begin tomorrow from Frisco, Texas, and the Star. Dan will be there. It's K-State Day tomorrow, KU Day on Wednesday. Usually we do the reverse. We do, Swain and KU on Tuesday, Fitz and K-State on Wednesday. Well, we're flipping it around because the Big 12 doesn't care about our schedule. So we'll have all sorts of coverage, all sorts of interviews from both KU and K-State, plus the head coaches. We'll have hopefully Brett Yormark on, plenty of other college football personalities from around the sports media world, some other athletes, ADs, and who knows who else Dan will run into down at the Star coming up over the next 2 days. So while he's on the road, I am here with you for the rest of the show today. I was joking about it earlier. Told you guys I was going to be gone for a while, and I was here for 2 days last week, and now for the next 3 days here. So appreciate getting to spend some time with you guys. Hope you all had a happy 4th of July and a safe 4th of July as well. Want to let you know, by the way, before this hour is done, we've got some concert tickets to give away. Whiskey Myers coming to my favorite concert venue, maybe ever, but certainly in the greater KC area, the Starlight Theater. We'll have some tickets to give away before the hour is through today. But I wanted to get to a little Kansas City Chiefs football here as we get to the final quarter of the hour. 60 days until Chiefs kickoff this season on the first Friday of September against the Chargers down in Brazil. And number 60 on the Chiefs roster, that is second-year interior offensive lineman Hunter Nourzad from Penn State. We are Hunter Nourzad days away from Chiefs kickoff. And we heard from Matt Derrick last week. He joined us on Thursday last week and said that behind Creed Humphrey, it's Hunter Nourzad's job as the backup center, and he's even got an outside chance to win the starting left guard job. We all expect that's going to be Kingsley Suamataia, but Nourzad is going to get at least a fair shake to make some noise and make it a real competition during training camp this year. But beyond Hunter Nourzad specifically, who I would like to refresh everybody's memory, I liked that pick a lot. It was a 5th rounder, but he played 4 different spots on the offensive line when he was in college at Penn State. I really liked that one, middle of the day 3 of the 2024 draft, so going back a couple of years. But this year's draft class, this past year's draft class, they're who I want to focus on big picture, not just on Nourzad, because I've got a working theory here that group in particular, for the long-term health of the Kansas City Chiefs, really need to have a successful year. And there's a lot of pressure on that group because, as we know, when you've got a bunch of big contracts, what is the best way to stay in a competitive window? To have other young, cheap talent on your team. So when you're paying Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, now you're paying Nick Bolton, you're paying Creed Humphrey, you're probably here in the near future going to have a brand new contract for Trey Smith. Those are a lot of big money deals. I didn't even mention Juwan Taylor, who has been on a $20 million per year deal over the last few seasons. When you've got all those big contracts, you need guys who are on rookie deals, really day 2 and day 3 guys to step up and play above their draft position, but first rounders as well. And you need those guys to really fill out the roster and make impacts for you, because if you're going to spend a gigantic portion of your salary cap on 6, 7 players, maybe just 5, depending on who the team is, you've got to have some of those young, cheap guys work out. And the Chiefs, to a degree, have actually kind of been a victim of their own success because they keep drafting these guys who turn into really good players. I just mentioned a few of them from the 2021 class. Nick Bolton got a second contract from the Chiefs, and he's going to be paid near the top of the inside linebacker market. Creed Humphrey, top paid center in the league, and deservedly so. I think he's the best center in the league. Trey Smith, he's going to get a massive deal. I cannot imagine he's going to go through this coming year on just the franchise tag, and that's going to be it. They're not going to extend him beyond that. I'd have to imagine he's going to get a deal at some point. Then you look at 2022, all the guys who are getting extensions this year. Trent McDuffie, to me, is one of the 3 best cornerbacks in the NFL. George Karlaftis, I don't think he's an elite edge rusher by any means, but I love his game. I love his style, and he is certainly one of the 32 best edge rushers in the league. I have 64 starters at that position, obviously, whether they're stand up, hand in the dirt, whatever. And obviously, If you're one of the 32 best, that's a pretty valuable guy to have at a very valuable spot. Karlaftis is going to get an extension. We don't know what it's going to look like for Brian Cook. He'll be far more affordable, but still, if the Chiefs want to bring him back, that's another contract right there. What are they going to do with Isaiah Pacheco? What about Jalen Watson? What about Leo Chanel? These guys who are not stars, but they're impact players. So I'm fascinated by what the Chiefs are going to do there. So why are we talking about 21 and 22 when it comes to, but I thought you said the 2024 class? The Chiefs have to pay all these guys, right? They've already given some big contracts out. You know, Mahomes eventually is going to get another big deal. Kelsey's still getting a lot of money. Chris Jones still getting a lot of money this year. The 2023 rookie class, not great, to be completely honest with you. That class has not quite panned out to this point. Felix Uzama. We're hopeful, right? Going into year 3, we're hopeful that he is going to have his breakout year. I still have some concerns. Maybe he's got good vibes now, changing his number back to 91, what he wore at K-State when he was Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. We'll find out. This is obviously a massive year for him, but I don't think it's out of pocket to say it has been disappointing so far for Felix as a first-round pick. Rashee Rice has been great, but he also missed a lot of last season, and hopefully he'll be okay going into this year. That's obviously a hit. Wanye Morris has played a bunch, but he's not good. He's not a very good player. The Chiefs have done everything possible to not play him. That pick has not really worked out. They've just had to throw him in because they have no better options. Shamari Connor's fine. He's an okay player. Didn't quite explode this past year like I kind of hoped he would. And the Chiefs have effectively gotten nothing out of B.J. Thompson, Keandre Coburn, and Nick Jones. Those 3 guys, rounds 5, 6, 7 in 2023, they have given you effectively nothing. Nick Jones has played special teams for a couple dozen snaps in his career. That's about it. Thompson, of course, had the health issue last year, and Coburn never even made it to the main regular season roster for Kansas City. So when you've got a class that was as good as 2022, and a lot of guys who are going to get paid, and 21 the same thing, and then a class right after where Rashee Rice will eventually get paid, but the rest of that class looking kind of funny in the light right now, there's a lot of pressure to continue drafting at a high level so you can continue to draft and replace these high talent guys who are going to be natural fits in the machine, natural cogs to keep things running. You have pressure to keep that going, because if you suddenly have 2 back-to-back bad drafts, and I'm not saying 2024 had a bad rookie year, I'm not. But I think there's pressure on them to take another step forward. Because if you have 2 duds or 2 mediocre, 2 mid, whatever word you want to use, classes in a row, suddenly you've got a lot of that high-paid talent that we've already talked about, but not a lot of other guys who are making big contributions. Well, why don't you go pay for free agents to help out? We don't have money for free agents because it's all tied up in Juwan Taylor, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, etc. That's why I think there is a lot of pressure on this 2024 group to take another step forward. I think they've got the capability to. Hunter Nourzad mentioned 60 days to kickoff. He's number 60. He's going to find a role, even if it's the swing interior guy for this line this year. That's an important thing. Chiefs fans, you know how important it is to have quality depth on the interior of your offensive line. Obviously significant right there. Xavier Worthy is going to have a bigger role this year. I think everybody understands that. He was asked to do more than was expected at the start of last year because Hollywood Brown missed so much of the season, but Worthy started to come into his own a little bit. I'm still of the belief he needs to bulk up. I'd be okay shaving a couple hundredths off his 40 time if that meant he bulked up and was able to beat man pressure and bump and run coverage a little bit better. But Worthy's going to have a big role this year. Can he advance? Kingsley Suamataia was a bust last season, but if he can slide in and be an impact left guard starter for you, okay, you're feeling a whole lot better about him. Jared Wiley obviously missed the vast majority of last season due to the injury. Can he come back, bounce back, and be an impact player in a tight end room that frankly's got a lot of questions, right? I mean, we know Kelsey's around for another year, but we don't know for sure if Noah Gray is your long-term option there. Will they have to draft someone again next year? There's a lot of questions in that tight end room beyond 2025 and even for 2025. Travis Kelce was not the Hall of Fame version of Travis Kelce in between the white lines this past year. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. So if Wiley can take a step and add another down the field stretching pass catching option, huge boon for this Chiefs offense, even if it's in limited snaps. I like Jaden Hicks a lot. I really do. I think he's going to be an impact player as a starting safety in his second year. I like Hicks a whole bunch. You need these guys to make an impact, though, because it's hard to rely on rookies specifically, even though I like this Chiefs rookie class. The guys who were drafted the year before, disappointing to this point. I think that's completely fair to say. So these 2024 guys, if you want to achieve your goals, both for 2025 and long-term, I think it's that class that really needs to have a major impact in 2025. We owe you a commercial break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. We've got some Whiskey Myers tickets to give away as well coming up on 580 Sports Talk. Final couple of minutes in this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Nourzad here with you. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour of the show, we've got today's 580 Sports Talk headlines, including full all-star game rosters for Major League Baseball, the preseason all Big 12 teams, some Washburn sports news, some KU K-State news. We'll get to all that coming up in headlines. Also, a fun post from The Athletic about the top 100 college football rivalries. I'm sure that's not going to ruffle any feathers. We'll get to those that involve our local teams as well as other schools from the Big 12. Plus, we'll preview Pirates versus Royals Game 1 at the K coming up tonight. I was not around at the start of the show to do the good, the bad, and the ugly, but my good, without question, for the weekend is that, and as our pal Vance on YouTube mentioned to me moments ago, made it through the weekend with all my digits, all 10 fingers, all 10 toes. Hopefully you guys had a safe and fun 4th of July as well. I was home alone. My wife and daughter, they were out of town. They were visiting my wife's sister, my sister-in-law. So I was home alone for the 4th, and I was sick. I did not feel well for a couple of days, but I got to enjoy some fireworks just sitting on the back deck. That was nice. Saw some minor league baseball this weekend. Made a trip down to Wichita to... And it was Riverfront Park. I don't remember what the name of the new stadium is. Sorry, corporate sponsor, insert here. But saw some Wichita Wind Surge baseball this weekend because the Royals weren't in town and got to sit right behind home plate for like $30. That was pretty nice. So, nice, fun weekend for you, boy. The only bad, and really this transitioned into an ugly as well. Good Lord, was it humid. I'm not a sweaty person. Like, everybody sweats, but I'm not an especially sweaty guy. But between getting over a nasty cold and the humidity this weekend, yuck. Not a whole lot of fun. Hopefully, though, you guys were able to stay as comfortable as possible, enjoyed the 4th, stayed safe on the 4th, and we thank you for joining us today here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, I promised we had tickets to give away. Whiskey Myers is coming to the Starlight Theater on July 12th. Yes, folks, the 12th. That is this coming Saturday, and I have tickets to give away. A pair of tickets to the Starlight Theater to caller number 2. 785-272-9429. Caller number 2. These tickets for Saturday are yours. 5 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk coming up after the news. Sports Talk coming your way on a Monday afternoon. I'm Brendan Nourzad. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and us today. It was Dan Lucero, the first half of the show. Yours truly, since What Is Wrong With You Today? Dan is on the road, headed south to Frisco, Texas. And the Star, the Cowboys practice facility, Jerry Jones's baby, that is where Big 12 Media Days will be held this year. And, of course, Dan will be there. We're going to have live coverage from Big 12 Media Days throughout the next 2 days. We're going to have interviews and all sorts of fun stuff from down there throughout the rest of the week. It's K-State Day tomorrow. It's KU Day on Wednesday. So we'll flip our normal schedule. Usually KU Tuesday, now Wednesday. Usually K-State Wednesday, now Tuesday. So we're going to have all sorts of coverage from down there, all sorts of interviews, players, coaches, administrators, personalities, etc. Dan will have all that coverage, and you'll be able to hear all of it coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Want to give a shout-out to our ticket winner from last hour. Heading to see Whiskey Myers at the Starlight Theater in Kansas City. Colin was our big winner of a pair of tickets. We had a bunch of callers. Appreciate you guys all calling in. Do not worry, because we're going to have more chances tomorrow and Wednesday to win tickets to go see Whiskey Myers this Saturday at the Starlight Theater in Kansas City. So congrats to Colin. If you did not get through today, don't worry. You're going to have more chances coming up over the next 2 days. Starlight Theater, by the way, if you've never been, oh my gosh, what an incredible place to see a concert. I've seen 2 there. I saw Queens of the Stone Age a couple years ago. That was incredible. And in 2019, I was front row, the last row before the stage to see the Queen, Casey Musgraves. She looked right at me. It's cool. It's no big deal, except I've thought about it every single day ever since that moment at the end of September 2019. Anywho, more music concert tickets to give away tomorrow. In this hour of 580 Sports Talk, though, we've got our headlines coming up here in just a moment. Some big ones we'll start off with here in just a sec. We also will get to a fun piece from Scott Docterman at The Athletic today. The top 100 rivalries in college football. He ranked them 1 through 100. Who has the best? What is the best rivalry? What is the worst out of the 100 he picked from? Where does the Sunflower Showdown land? Where does the Border War land? Where does Farmageddon land? I think there is a whole lot of intrigue with this list. So we'll get to all of it coming up here in just a few minutes. Plus, we'll preview tonight's Royals versus Pirates game. Noah Cameron versus Andrew Heaney. Old nemesis Andrew Heaney, former Angel. Plus, your texts and your comments on the YouTube feed. Text line number, per usual, 785-272-9429. And the YouTube, head to youtube.com. Just search 580 Sports Talk. That is the easiest way to go find us on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel while you're there. Come watch the show in video form. Hey, that's me right there on camera. Good to see you guys today. Hang out with your fellow commenters as well in the live comment section. And you can go back and rewind. If you missed any of the show from earlier, it's easy to just scrub back, go see anything from earlier today. So that is all on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. 758 subscribers, 42 away from Dan and I arm wrestling. Heck yeah. All right, let's get to it. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines for this Monday, July 7th. And we start things off with the full rosters for the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. We knew the starters last week, but now we know every pitcher, every reserve, every starter, the entire full rosters for the National and American Leagues. For the Royals, 2 All-Stars this year. Bobby Witt Jr. making his second consecutive appearance in the Midsummer Classic, batting .292 on the year, 12 home runs, 49 ribbies. Did you know he leads the majors in doubles? I was unaware of that fact until last night. Leads the majors in doubles. That's awesome. One of the most popular players, one of the best players in the bigs, top 10 in Major League Baseball and wins above replacement. Absolutely nobody is surprised that Bobby Witt Jr. made it to the All-Star game. One of the biggest surprises, at least if you said this when the year started, Chris Bubich is an All-Star. The 27-year-old lefty is making his first appearance in the Major League Baseball All-Star Game in its 95th edition. Top 10 in baseball in ERA, top 10 in baseball in pitcher wins above replacement. He has been a paragon of steadiness for the Royals this year, and they have really needed it given how bad the offense has been for so much of the year. Awesome for Kris Bubic. I think you could have made an argument for a couple of other guys. We'll get to Maikel Garcia in particular here in just a moment. But I think you could have made an argument for Carlos Estevez. He's had a pretty good year, obviously. Urseg before that kind of lull that started a couple weeks ago. I think you could have made an argument for him. The injury obviously didn't help as well. Well, really good stuff and Seth Lugo also, I think, certainly could have been in the conversation. But really good stuff for Kris Bubic. I am very excited for him. I share this every year. I've got a new spin on this take this year. But I tell you guys all the time, I think that all-star games are pretty dumb, to be completely honest with you. Today, in 1978, the all-star game was incredible because you never saw these guys. We never saw American League teams playing National League teams. We never would have even imagined, oh my gosh, we can turn on the TV or turn on the radio and we're going to hear Reggie Jackson and Steve Carlton on the field at the same time. Well, whatever. I'm just throwing two random names out there. But at the time, that's a big novel idea. Now, you got cable or some sort of streaming service, or maybe you only have, you just watch highlights on YouTube, but you can watch anybody you want at any given time. If you're like me and you subscribe to MLB TV, might be hard to watch the Royals, but you can go watch any team in Major League Baseball anytime you want. I understand for baseball, the sport is about heritage and tradition, and that's why we talk about it with such reverence, and I understand that. I just think the concept of the All-Star game at this point is kind of dumb. It's maybe less dumb than in other sports, like the NBA. They always try to make this big thing. Well, we need to take it seriously. Why? It's an exhibition game. It's a couple of guys you pulled away from taking a short vacation to come play a scrimmage. Why are you trying to make it a bigger deal than it is? Baseball, they did the thing with the home field advantage in the World Series. That was stupid for however long that went on. Why do we need to make it meaningful? It's an exhibition. It's hanging out. So I'm not a fan of the All-Star games. Okay, that's obvious. I think baseball too. I always hear that, well, this is it's the most realistic. It's the most like a real game. And that's why it's better. And yeah, I mean, it's real. You're playing 9 innings. Guys are trying to some degree. But the process of picking the All-Stars is so flawed. And the biggest reason why, in my opinion, is the rule that every team's got to have an All-Star. Well, that gives every team, every fan base something to root for. I hate to be rude. And look, Royals fans, there were years where several years in team history probably didn't deserve to get anybody in. I'm a Cubs fan. For most of my life, there were years, plenty of years, where nobody deserved to get into the All-Star game, right? Things have only been good and enjoyable as a Cubs fan for pretty much the last 9-10 years or so. Before that, a lot of crap, okay? So I can understand that. But at the same time, boo-hoo, who cares? If the point is we're going to build rosters of the best players in the American League and the best players in the National League, then you shouldn't say that you're going to do a charity pick and to make sure everybody gets someone. That doesn't make any sense. That's antithetical to trying to build the best roster possible. So that leads me into a couple of gripes I have with the rosters this year. Number one, and maybe most importantly, why is Julio Rodriguez an all-star? I know they wanted to get a certain number of outfielders in, and I know Julio is very popular. I love Julio Rodriguez. He's having a bit better year this year than he did a year ago. A really fun player. Julio Rodriguez is outside the top 110 players in OPS this year in Major League Baseball. And that guy's an all-star? Because it's not just fan voting that goes into it, right? There's player voting that factors in as well. So that guy is an all-star, and yet Maikel Garcia of the Kansas City Royals, who's got an OPS of 826, who's batting over 300, a slug of 465. That dude's not an all-star? What? There's positional breakdowns. I get it. You can only have so many guys. You can't have 6 third basemen on the team. I understand it. But you're not picking the best players. And that's the thing that bothers me. And it's bothered me for a long time. Pick the best players. I think my favorite team had a couple of guys get snubbed. How is Juan Soto not an all-star? The fans nor the players voted enough to get him in. I do not understand it one single iota. I do not blame anybody who loves the All-Star game. And again, I am happy for guys that I root for. I'm happy for the Royals players. I'm happy for all these guys. It's a dream come true. It's awesome. The accolade is awesome. But just don't tell me that you're going to put on a showcase of the best when your rules indicate that by rule, you are not guaranteed to have the best of the best. Just don't tell me that. Just don't try to sell me a bill of goods on this. Other notable names, though, by the way, on the All-Star roster, we'll get through this pretty quickly. Clayton Kershaw got a Legends nod in the National League for his contributions to Major League Baseball, essentially. I think that's pretty cool, to be completely honest with you. I get that he's not who he was at his peak, and at his peak, he's, a top 5 lefty ever, but certainly the best pitcher of his generation. I think Kershaw at his best, and say what you will about postseason performances, I think Clayton Kershaw at his best was better than either Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander, his contemporaries in the best pitcher of the generation discussion. Those dudes had more longevity, more health. I think Clayton Kershaw at his best better than either of those guys, but that's neither here nor there. So a cool honor for him in the National League. 3 former Royals are all-stars this year as well. That includes Aroldis Chapman for the Red Sox, his 8th nod, one of 3 Red Sox to make it in. Brent Rooker made it in again as the DH. He is the only Athletics player who made it in. And as we've talked about a bunch on this program, Ryan O'Hearn is the starting designated hitter for the American League. That is unbelievable. I don't think he'd have the same kind of numbers if he played more games outside of Camden Yards, but that is still truly, truly unbelievable to me. And hey, again, all the credit in the world to him. What he's been able to accomplish, that turnaround, good for you, Ryan O'Hearn. All right, moving on today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. I'm sorry for being a curmudgeon. I don't like to be negative. I wasn't here for the first half of the show, kind of on a part-time thing with the show right now. I don't want to come to you with the negativity. I don't know why I die on this hill all the time, but I'm sure come this week in 2026, I will be in the exact same position. But let's move from Major League Baseball to Big 12 football, because earlier today, just ahead of Media Days beginning tomorrow, the Big 12 announced its preseason all-conference team and all-conference honors. Your preseason offensive player of the year in the Big 12, quarterback Sam Leavitt of Arizona State. Obviously, he had a fantastic redshirt freshman year last year for the Sun Devils on their way to a Big 12 championship. Defensive player of the year, Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker from Texas Tech. No argument for me. Heck of a player. And the newcomer of the year, Devin Dampier, quarterback at Utah, transfer in from New Mexico. One thought on Dampier really quick, because I know Dan mentioned this when he was going through his unauthorized all Big 12 or Big 12 preseason poll, since the conference didn't want to do one this year. I think that's nonsensical, but they did not ask my opinion, so all's fair. I think Devin Dampier's ceiling is really high. I do. That dude is extremely fun. It is extremely exciting to watch a guy like that. It's also a different kind of football playing in the Big 12 than playing at New Mexico. Different caliber of opponents for a 5'11", 205 quarterback. I hope he's good, because that'll be a lot of fun. But I agree with Dan and what he said at the top of the 4 o'clock hour today. You do run the risk of this really could fly off the tracks. To me, it's almost kind of the Marquise Noel conundrum. And I don't mean to do like an extreme cross-sport thing here, but if you remember, go back to the 21-22 K-State season. Noel transfers in from Little Rock, clearly talented, but also, wow, he is a wild stallion out there. You have no idea what's going to happen at any given time. Decision-making, not great. The next year, Jerome Tang comes in, that new staff, they got him on the straight and narrow basketball style-wise, and he was a third-team All-American. One of the 15 best players in the entire country that year. I feel like Dampier's kind of the same way. If you can really harness that chaotic energy, Utah could be a playoff team and can win the Big 12. I just don't know that they can completely harness it. It's hard to break a horse sometimes. Dampier, heck of a player. He's your Big 12 newcomer of the year in the preseason. Notable names for the all Big 12 preseason team. How about your Kansas State picks? One player on the offensive side, that's fullback / H-back Will Swanson, 6'5", 250 senior. He's going to have a big year because he's a veteran K-State tight end, and he's going to have a big year. He's not the biggest name tight end on the roster. You probably know who that is, Mr. Lincoln Cure from Goodland, Kansas. But Will Swanson probably going to have a big year. He's your all Big 12 preseason fullback / H-back. On the defensive side of the ball, one K-Stater as well. No surprise at all. Right behind Jacob Rodriguez for best linebacker in the conference. That is Austin Romaine. Very cool for him. He was incredible last year. I know Dan talked about that with Fitz last week. Austin Romaine, absolute stud. He, I assume, was in the running to get Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year in the preseason as well. Just one KU player makes the preseason team. That is center Bryce Foster. Yeah, Bryce Foster is awesome. Great personality. Dan's going to talk to him coming up on Wednesday at Big 12 Media Day on KU Day, second day of the event. Awesome player, great athlete. He's on the KU track team as well. He's a thrower, I believe. Yeah, really, really cool for Bryce Foster. Other notable players, Levitt, he's your player of the year. Obviously, he's going to be your quarterback on the first team. Bryson Washington and Jaheim White are your running backs. Does that feel like kind of a weak running back year for the Big 12? Those are your all-conference preseason guys. I mean, White's a nice player, but I don't know about those two being your best running backs in the entire conference. Wide receivers, Eric McAllister of TCU, Chase Roberts of BYU, Jordan Tyson of Arizona State. I like Chase Roberts. He's a really fun player. Tight end, Joe Royer from Cincinnati. Your other offensive lineman, Ben Coleman from ASU. Spencer Fano from Utah. Caleb Lomu from Utah. And Jordan Seaton from Colorado. Place kicker, Will Farron from BYU. And return man, Josh Cameron from Baylor. Lomu and Fano, those guys might both be first-round picks next year. Or they'll certainly both be top 100 picks. Those dudes are good. That's shaping up like a really, really good Utah offensive line. Again, if you can just harness the chaos from Devin Dampier, not only is that team going to be really good, it might be one of the best watches in all of college football this coming season. All right, next up here on our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today, let's stick with college sports. We'll stay local. We got some KU basketball news here. Noah Shelby is transferring out of KU. He is hitting the portal. Now, if you remember, he started at Vanderbilt, then transferred to Rice. Last year, he transferred to KU as a walk-on and redshirted, so he didn't even play. And as Henry Greenstein of the Lawrence Journal World really helpfully points out, adds some additional context here, there is a new transfer portal, a one-time transfer portal beginning today around college sports. It's the Designated Student Athletes Transfer Portal. And you might say, one, I thought that we were out of the portal window. Two, what the hell is a designated student athlete? Three, what in the world is going on? I do not blame you for feeling any of those things, by the way. So this new abbreviated portal window, it is specifically for guys who were walk-ons, who were grandfathered in to the roster limit rules that were implemented with the House settlement. So if you remember a couple weeks back, we talked about how K-State, we talked about this with Fitz and with Michael Swain, in fact, how there were guys at KU and K-State who were walk-ons, PWOs, whatever, for the football teams that had to enter the transfer portal because the school said, hey, guys, we just don't have room anymore. It's hard to have walk-ons at this point. So if you want to go and play and fit into someone's roster, the best thing for you is to enter the transfer portal and to enter it as early as possible. Then Judge Wilkin came back and said, no, I want to make sure those guys or gals or whoever have spaces. It is not fair to have them get kicked off because of these rules. They should be grandfathered in. That was allowed. And that brings us to the quote unquote designated student athlete transfer portal. It's for walk-ons to be able to find a new home. That's essentially what it comes down to. Noah Shelby was not going to play this year. I think that goes pretty obviously without saying. Apparently, I did not know this. I found this out doing some research today. Noah Shelby's dad is a big-time partner at, I don't know the name of the agency, but an agency that deals with college sports and athletes. He's the one, Noah Shelby's dad, who got the Felix Ojo deal done, the new offensive lineman recruit at Texas Tech, the kid who got a 3-year, $5.1 million revenue sharing contract. Yeah, Noah Shelby's dad was part of the group that got that deal done. He also was part of the group that got Nyjah Kennedy's deal done at Texas Tech. Tech's got so much money, man. That is absolutely crazy. So an interesting note there with Noah Shelby. One other quick KU adjacent piece of news. Zeke Mayo is going to join the KU alumni JHX Hoops at the basketball tournament a little bit later on this month. In fact, their first game is 12 days from now. He is going to join as soon as he's done playing at NBA Summer League with the Washington Wizards. That could be as early as the 18th, which means he could play the first game, or it might be as late as the 20th of this month, which means that Zeke would miss the opener for JHX Hoops and would have to wait until their second game, in all likelihood, on July 21st. So that's cool for Zeke Mayo, Lawrence guy, 1 year at KU, and now getting to play for the KU alumni team at the basketball tournament this year. A couple other quick headlines we want to get to you from truly local college sports. This from Washburn Athletics Today. This is a really cool one. J.C. Ginter, the Topeka product and former Ichabod All-American, is returning to Washburn to be the pitching coach for legendary head coach Brenda Holliday. The 2024 graduate finished her Ichabod career with numerous awards. She currently works for Stormont Vale. This is a quote from Coach Holliday. JC was an All-American as a player and a program changer. We are excited to have her step into a coaching role. We look forward to her sharing her experience, knowledge, toughness, and competitive drive with the players in our program. JC will work primarily with our pitchers, but will also work within all aspects of our program. She joins a coaching staff that will welcome what she has to share and will support her as she breaks into the coaching world. 208 starts in 209 games for JC, 85-29 in her career, 791 strikeouts in 725 2/3 innings pitched, over 200 career hits with 28 home runs. In her career, a 2.01 ERA, ninth in Washburn history. Her 85 wins, the most in Washburn history. Really, really cool for J.C. Ginter. Cool story, local product, and now getting to come home to Washburn to be the new pitching coach for Brenda Holliday. That is awesome. One more note from Major League Baseball here. Wanted to make sure we get to. Spencer's not even here. Spencer is still on vacation, and we don't even get to have him chime in about his beloved Washington Nationals. But Spencer's Nats, the Dupuis Nationals, have fired their president of baseball operations, Mike Rizzo, and their manager, Davey Martinez. Both were there when they won the World Series back in 2019, but ever since then, they have been down near the bottom of the barrel in the National League. They're 37-53 this year. They are in dead last in the National League East, and they were swept this weekend at home by the Boston Red Sox. Since that World Series in 2019, so we're talking 20 through 25 seasons, they have not finished better than fourth in the NL East. Yeah, hard to blame anyone for that one not panning out in Washington. All right, real quick, winner's circle from the weekend. The John Deere Classic. Brian Campbell picks up the win, his second PGA Tour win of this season. NASCAR fans, I know his name. You're going to have to help me with the pronunciation, either on the text line or in the YouTube comments here. But SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, won at Chicago in the NASCAR Cup Series race, his second win of the year, both on the road courses. And Mexico also defeats the U.S. men in the final of the Gold Cup. Couple quick thoughts here. I don't know anything about Brian Campbell, but congratulations to him on his second win on the PGA Tour this year. The road race in Chicago, the Grant Park race. Sounds like it's probably not coming back. What I have been reading, not necessarily from NASCAR publications, but from Chicago publications, not entirely sure they want to bring it back. Maybe they just move a race to the Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet going forward. I think it's really cool. I feel like I saw less marketing for it outside of the racing world, like just the rest of the sports world and the people I follow back in Chicago. Let's talked about this year. Maybe it's fatigue. I don't know. It's a cool looking race and in an awesome setting, obviously. The U.S. didn't send its best team to the Gold Cup final. I saw someone say it was Mexico's A team versus the USC team or something. You never want to lose to Mexico. I'm not even a soccer fan. I didn't watch a single second of this match. But I know you don't want to lose to Mexico in men's or women's soccer for that matter. But that is the winner's circle, and that will do it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. Real quick, before we get to a break, I want to address this while we have time. Chris on the YouTube comments, he says, anything on a Trey Smith signing with the Chiefs? Nothing yet. Still waiting on that. They've got to get a deal done. I believe it's sometime middle of this month, or he has to play out the year on the franchise tag. I am a firm believer they are going to get a deal done, because why would you franchise tag him and not get a deal done? Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Would put a whole lot of pressure on you to figure out your offensive line going forward, 26 and beyond. But as for now, nothing doing on the Trey Smith front. Thank you, Chris, for the question. Thank you guys for checking out the show today. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break for the final half hour of the program. The Athletic put together the list of the top 100 rivalries in college football. Did they get it right? And where do KU and K-State and their rivalries land? We'll find out next on 580 Sports Talk. .34 on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Nourzad here with you. We'll be joined by Dan Lucero tomorrow from Big 12 Football Media Days at the Star in Frisco, Texas. Can't wait for that. We'll hear from Chris Kleiman. He'll be there. K-State on Tuesday, KU on Wednesday. I need to remember who the other members of the K-State contingent going to the event are. Avery Johnson will be there, obviously. Most teams send their quarterback. Some teams, Colorado is sending two, in fact. Some teams like BYU, they don't send a quarterback. Hey, BYU, what happened there? Yes, the K-State contingent that is going, Avery Johnson, Taylor Poitier, Cody Stufflebean, Des Purnell, speak his own, and VJ Payne. That's a good group for K-State. We'll hear from that quintet coming up tomorrow, plus Coach Chris Kleiman. Brett Yormark will be there. We'll talk to him hopefully one of the 2 days. See who else stops on in during media days over the next couple of days. I'll be here with you in studio. Spencer will be back on Wednesday, and we'll talk to Dan from the Star coming up during the show tomorrow. But speaking of college football, The Athletic today put out their rankings. Scott Docterman is the author, in fact. But The Athletic put out their list of the top 100 rivalries in college football. And you can probably come up with your own rationale for what makes a top rivalry. Number one, I bet you could guess. If I gave you the option to say, hey, what is, I asked you, what is the number one rivalry in college football? You'd probably say the game, Michigan, Ohio State, and you'd be correct according to this list. That's number one. Iron Bowl number two. See, I'm going to jump in right away and say the Iron Bowl should not be number two because I don't think Alabama considers that their biggest rivalry. I think Alabama fans consider Tennessee to be their bigger rival. Now, they play the Iron Bowl the last week of the year in rivalry week, but Alabama-Tennessee, third Saturday of October. That's got its own name, and it's not even during rivalry week. So I get it. That's the one that gets all the hype. But again, I think Alabama fans and Tennessee fans, too, would tell you that Alabama-Tennessee is actually the bigger rivalry. That one comes in at number 11. Number 3 is Oklahoma-Texas, Red River. Army-Navy 4, USC-Notre Dame 5, which is especially funny considering that series may end here in the near future. Come on. Play the damn game. Number 6, Nebraska-Oklahoma. Okay. Miami, Florida State 7, Ohio State, Penn State 8th. No, I'm just going to say it. No. You knew there was going to be a lot of SEC and Big Ten lean in this. I understand that. And you get good games from that matchup. But they've only been conference mates since 1993. They're not like a real natural rival. It's a fun game every year. Ohio State usually wins. It's a fun game, but it's not. I wouldn't have put this in the top 20. I guess if your only characteristic, the only trait you're picking from is, are the games good? Well, yeah, sure, put it up near the top. But I disagree with that one. I don't think that one belongs in the top 10 from The Athletic. In their top 100 college football rivalries poll, number 9, Florida State. Number 10, Paul Bunyan's Axe, Minnesota, Wisconsin. They played 134 times. They're dead even. 63 wins apiece with 8 ties. That's awesome. I've been to the Axe game before. Such a cool environment. I saw Mitch Leidner throw 5 interceptions. People thought he'd be a first-round pick. That dude sucked. Sorry, Mitch. That dude stunk. Anyway, that's your top 10 according to The Athletic. The first rivalry on this list involving a team from the Big 12 is number 19. One spot behind Michigan, Notre Dame, one spot ahead of Harvard, Yale. At number 19, they will play their 121st game all time this September. It's the border war, Kansas versus Missouri. It's an incredibly close rivalry. 56-55 and 9 is the difference. They're going to play in Columbia coming up this year. Listen, you know where my allegiances lie. You are not going to get any sort of disagreement from me about how big of a deal this particular rivalry is, right? It is a big deal, and I'm biased. You know I'm biased, so this is not coming from a place of surprise for you. But yeah, I think this is as good as a rivalry as there is involving a Big 12 team. Schools hate each other, man. I hate Missouri a lot. Quite a bit. And their head coach and their program, and I'm not going to say in the entire alumni base because that includes our guy, Matt Derrick, and I can't do that to Matt because he's like the nicest guy I've ever met. But a lot of the alumni base got beef. Plus, I grew up in a place where there were a lot of KU fans and kids I went to high school with who went to KU, and a lot of Mizzou fans and kids who I went to high school with who went to Mizzou. So the rivalry was very real where I came from, even though we were out of state. So yeah, I think that one deserves to be in the top 20 in the country. I would argue it belongs over a couple of the other rivalries that are on the list, frankly, to be completely honest with you. Like, Michigan State is a big rivalry, sure. But Michigan also doesn't really acknowledge Michigan State at all. That's a very, I don't want to say it's a very one-sided rivalry, but it doesn't have the same kind of hate that KU and Mizzou have. Now, I will say, I think a lot of this hate goes back to the Civil War stuff. While literally true, I think the schools, and specifically KU, started amplifying that a little bit around the time I was in school, mid-2010s, because I know some older fans, and you may feel the same way if you're a KU fan of a certain age, that wasn't necessarily a talking point for a long time, but in recent years, it certainly has. So that's the highest rank from The Athletic rivalry involving a Big 12 team, the border war. 15 rivalries made their top 100 involving a Big 12 team. The next one, number 25, Bedlam, Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. One spot below, 26th, is Pitt, West Virginia, the backyard brawl. The Holy War comes in 28th, BYU, Utah. So outside of the elite, essentially, the Big 12 and its member teams are getting a whole lot of love. Iowa State, the Cyhawk game, that's 32. Nebraska and Colorado is 33. 2 spots later at 35, TCU Baylor, the Revivalry. Those games are always nuts. TCU SMU, the battle for the skillet, that's 46th. The Territorial Cup, Arizona State, Arizona, 54th. You have to go all the way to 59 to find the Sunflower Showdown. For context, in their ranking of rivalries, right ahead of KU, K-State, North Carolina State and North Carolina, and Miami versus Florida. Right behind them, Montana State, the Brawl of the Wild, and Purdue Notre Dame. That's where they've got KU versus K-State. Obviously, KU still leads by 11 games all time. K-State has won. Is it 16 in a row now, or is it 17 in a row now? I've lost count. I have. And this feels low to me to say this one's barely inside the top 60. I mean, this right now is the chief rival. I guess with the Missouri game coming back, that's back to being the chief rivalry game for Kansas. But I mean, this has been a hotly contested game in recent years. And this means something, guys. In-state rivalries mean something. I'm on the internet. I see what some of y'all say to each other when this game comes up every year, and even in the offseason. I was there a couple years ago where I saw some equipment staffers from a certain school scuffing up center, midfield of the home team's turf. I'm not going to name names, but you can probably guess who I'm talking about here. This means something. I'm a little surprised that this one was all the way down at 59. 63, even more surprising to some of you K-State fans, Farmageddon comes in 63rd. K-State versus Iowa State. We'll get to more on that in a second. Baylor versus Texas A&M, that's 74. Baylor versus Texas Tech, the Butt Bowl. BU versus TT, that's 82nd. The Rocky Mountain Showdown, Colorado versus Colorado State, is 91st. And UCF versus USF, the I-4 rivalry, that comes in number 97. 15 rivalries that involve a Big 12 team, but only 6 of them involve 2 teams that are in the conference, and 2 of those are in-state rivalries, brand new to the league. The Holy War, Utah versus BYU, and the Territorial Cup, Arizona versus Arizona State. It's hard to make this list. It's off-season content. I get that. I'm not going to get mad at Scott Dockerman for writing this. That being said, I find it hard to believe that there are 53 rivalries nastier than Arizona versus Arizona State. Those schools hate each other. That's not like we don't like them. No, that's hate. I have a hard time believing 53 rivalries are better or certainly nastier than that one. And frankly, I have a hard time believing there are 27 rivalries better than BYU versus Utah. Again, nasty. Again, hate. Those are the things I think about. Competitive games, crazy games. Do the teams hate each other? Do the coaches hate each other? Do the fans hate each other? And I know that's a lot of negative words and negative adjectives there, but that's what builds a college football rivalry to me. And I have a hard time thinking, even if there are some good ones from the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, whatever, I have a hard time feeling that some of those are better than BYU, Utah. Like the one right in front of them on this list is the Civil War, Oregon versus Oregon State. Really? Are we sure? Because that's fun. When Oregon State wins, it's awesome. But I think Utah BYU's got more juice than the Civil War does. Pitt, West Virginia. The backyard brawl. Again, you want to talk about schools that cannot stand each other, fan bases that loathe one another. You can ask Spencer when he gets back on Wednesday. Maybe we'll even bring this up to him. He didn't go to West Virginia. He went to another WVU rival at Marshall. But West Virginia fans do not like Pitt. Do you know what West Virginia fans, what their chant is toward Pitt? You know what they say? Eat something that rhymes with pit. Pit. That's what they say. Hate. Nastiness. It's only 26th on the list. We sure about that? I don't know. I have a hard time thinking some of those should be as low as they are. I like seeing the love for the border war at the top, but I think, per usual, not a lot of respect being given to the Big 12 here. This is fun. It's just fun off-season conversational content. But, and I know this was written by a guy who covers Iowa football for a living, given the fact that most of the college football world doesn't know that football is played north of Knoxville or west of Austin, I guess it's nice to at least get 15 Big 12 rivalries on the list. We owe you a commercial break. We'll come on back, preview game one between the Royals and Pirates tonight here on 580 WIBW. Rounding the turn here on the final hour of 580 Sports Talk. Coming up tomorrow, we'll have plenty of coverage from Big 12 football media days. We'll have some Royals baseball to get to and much more from 3 until 6 here on 580 WIBW. A couple other questions on the top 100 college football rivalries ranking from the text line. Mark, actually, two different Marks had questions. Mark H asks, where are Miami and Florida State? Their rivalry, they came in 7th on the list. They've played 69 times, 36-33. So that's a nice close one. They're 7th on the list. Mark B asks, where's the largest outdoor cocktail party? Georgia versus Florida. That one ranks 12th on the top 100 from The Athletic. I already gave you one old man yells at cloud, get off my lawn, outdated old guy curmudgeon take today about all-star games. I knew that was coming because, well, that's just how I feel about them. It happens every single year. This is another one, but I think this is actually a very popular take. Stop renaming these games. Stop it. And stop trying to come up with like corporatized names for them. I'm not saying corporate sponsors, but like the game between Georgia and Florida is the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. You can call it whatever you want or not call it whatever you want. CBS and SEC and those schools individually, lean into it. That's what people know it as. Stop trying to make us call it something different. In an era where we are stripping college football of all sorts of good, fun traditions, let us keep that good, fun tradition. It's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. It ain't the border showdown. It is the border war. They ain't paying me to say border showdown, so it's the border war. And I get why they didn't want to use the word war at one point in the early part of the 2000s. Guys, that's what it's called, and that's what it's going to be called forever. The Red River rivalry. It's not the Red River Showdown. It's the Red River Shootout. I get the negative imagery, but come on. That's one of the sickest names there is. Oregon State tried to stop calling their game the Civil War. That's all I know it as, is the Civil War. Come on. They're cool names. They're meaningful names. They come from somewhere. They mean something. Stop trying to strip things that mean something to fans, to alumni, to teams, to people. Stop trying to strip that away and sanitize everything. I think that's a more popular take than my all-star take, to be honest with you. Still kind of yelling at clouds, but come on. Do you know anyone who has unironically called it the border showdown that didn't work for one of the schools? Honestly, it's the border war. It will always be the border war. Just like Georgia, Florida will always be the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Royals baseball coming up tonight. As soon as we are done, we'll send you over to pregame coverage on the Royals radio network. Noah Cameron gets the start for the Royals. Andrew Heaney, former Angel. Royals have played him a bunch. He'll get the start for the Pirates tonight. Felt good to win a series over the weekend. A lot of fun. Scored a bunch of runs on Friday. I had a blast listening to baseball on Friday. I listened to the Cubs game on the radio. They hit 8 home runs against the Cardinals. That ruled. Then at night, Royals game, they were mashing it against the Diamondbacks. That was also awesome. Then lost on Saturday, but bounced back, had a 4-0 shutout win. Pitching was magnificent from Michael Lorenzen yesterday. That felt really good. Can you keep the momentum going? Can you build on that? The Royals still have a long way to go in their pursuit of the playoffs. And if they elect to sell at the deadline here in a couple of weeks, and we don't have time to get into a thought I have about the complicated process of determining whether to sell or buy or stay put right now. But if you want to continue this push to the playoffs, you're still 5.5 games out of the final wild card spot in the American League. You need to stack the wins. You need to stack the series victories. You got one on the road against the Diamondbacks. That's a big deal. It is hard to win series on the road in Major League Baseball. Royals deserve a lot of credit for that. The Pirates are gettable. You do not have to face Paul Skeens this week. Go win this series. Put a little confidence in your team. Put a little confidence in your fan base. And put a little bit of confidence in your front office as well. Maybe that's right. Maybe that's wrong. But if the Royals can win 2 out of 3 or go for a sweep this week against Pittsburgh, suddenly you're feeling a lot more optimistic going into the break and a lot more optimistic as we get closer to the trade deadline. One more commercial break coming up. We'll come back from that and wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Let's wrap it up today on 580 Sports Talk. Real quick final word from me. I'll just reiterate what I said a moment ago. Felt good for the Royals to go on the road. Yeah, Saturday wasn't especially fun, but to go on the road, put up a bunch of runs on Friday, do more than enough to win in game 3 of the series, to pick up the series win over the Diamondbacks yesterday. Just felt nice. That was one of the more, I don't want to say stress-free because Saturday was not a whole lot of fun, but that was one of the more just enjoyable, hey, that was a good, solid effort kind of series wins for the Royals in quite some time. Build on it. Job's not done, not even close. Build on it. Go beat Andrew Heaney and the Pirates tonight. Then we're really cooking with gas here as we get close to the All-Star break. That'll do it for 580 Sports Talk today. Coming up tomorrow, Dan will be live on site from Frisco, Texas for Big 12 Media Days, day 1. I'll be here in studio. We'll hear from K-State players. We'll hear from Chris Kleiman. We'll hear from plenty of other folks from around the Big 12 as well. That is coming up tomorrow from 3 until 6. We'll also hear, I believe, from Tim Fitzgerald. We're flipping our KU and K-State interviews for the week. All that coming up tomorrow here on 580 Sports Talk. Don't forget, if you missed any of the show today, head on over to our YouTube channel. That's 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel while you're there. Then you can go zip around and check out everything that happened on the show today. You can also check out the show in podcast form on Spotify. You don't have to miss a minute of the show. Even if you missed it on the radio live or on YouTube live, you can have it right in your pocket on the Spotify app. Anywhere you go, just search 580 Sports Talk on Spotify. We'll be back tomorrow from 3 until 6. Hey, that includes me for a full show. Until then, for Dan Lucero, this is Brendan Brzezinski saying so long from 580 Sports Talk. Kansas City Royals baseball is up next.